Okay, the computer tells me we are live and on the air. Welcome to Results on a Rampage this Tuesday evening. I'm coming to you from a strange location. I am in Edmonton, Alberta. Our international office is here. We're actually looking to expand more internationally, so that's where I am today. I'm going back to Phoenix tomorrow, and I'll be conducting the rest of the week down there. I'll be back and forth a number of times the rest of the year. So give a couple of announcements real quick, and then we'll proceed with our topic tonight. I did not get a chance, because we were up here, to put a fancy banner up announcing the topic. So we usually do. Joy usually puts a wonderful banner up there telling us all what we're going to talk about. It is in the description of the event. We're going to talk about meditation tonight, and you might be wondering, what in the world does some religious practice have to do with Results on a Rampage? And we'll talk about that. First of all, it's not religious, and second of all, it has a lot to do with Results on a Rampage. So, announcements. I want to remind everybody I've got 4 events left this year, if you want to participate in any of them. 3 of them are book writing events, 2-day book challenge events. One's October 28, 29, one is November 21st, 22nd, and one is December 12, 13. Those will be 2-day book challenges where you will work with me solidly for 2 days, and at the end of 2 days you will have a book written. The other is our Speed to Profit marketing event, which is November 17, 18, and 19, and that will be fun. Also in a couple of weeks, I'll be at the Rock and Roll Entrepreneurs Boot Camp in Dallas, Texas, with Tim Gillette, my friend. I'll be on his stage down there a week from Saturday. So, moving around, doing a bunch of different things. A lot of fun getting the message out of breakthrough work, the message of doing more than you're doing now, the message of moving past your limitations and boundaries, and creating powerful results on a rampage. So this afternoon, I did a radio show. The radio show this afternoon, I talked about ethics and the relationship of ethics to business. I took a broad approach, talked about the balance in your own life. If that topic interests you or irritates you, either one, or you have a strong feeling about it, you should listen to this afternoon's show. And even if you don't, I took a provocative stance intentionally with the idea that ethics has a lot to do with your success in business, and if you're unethical, you suck. And you'll also fail in business. So anyway, and I took a stab at defining ethics and doing those kinds of things on the show this afternoon. So anyway, that was today. Tonight, we're going to talk about meditation. First of all, we're going to talk about what it is, why it matters, how to do it, and what difference it makes in achieving massive results. First of all, I want to give a couple of examples. We know from sports practitioners that those who visualize sports events and sports performance perform better. They better their own best, and they make leaps ahead in their sports performance when they do no more than mentally precisely go through routines, execution of particular things. That is a form of meditation. It is a mental rehearsal. Those who mentally go through music performances, difficult piano works, or other kinds of instrumental performances or vocal performances, not just thinking about them, but precisely moving through with, and the better you are at this, the more powerful it is, with precisely the same motions and feelings and intensity of, the shot or the playing or whatever it is that you're doing. Those are forms of mental practice and are related very, very heavily to meditation. So the idea that mental focus is powerful and achieves a lot is not new, it is not strange, and it is practiced in a number of venues that are very familiar to us already. Meditation is also much more familiar than you might suspect. When you go to sleep, or when you just wake up, I'm going to describe a situation I know everybody will immediately recognize. You're just waking up, and right at the moment of waking up, sometimes you've been dreaming perhaps, and sometimes you haven't, but you're just about ready to wake up, and you want to move, and you can't. And you want to move your arm or your leg, or you want to sit up, or you want to do something, and you can't, and your mind sometimes starts to panic, but sometimes not, but you just have to focus with all your might, and then finally you can move. Well, your mind has gone to a state of slightly more wakefulness than your body. The connection is not all the way there yet. And often in that state, not a state of panic when you're trying to move and can't, but that semi-awake state is alpha state. That's when the brain waves are between 7 and 14 cycles, and that is the speed at which the brain oscillates, or the oscillations in the brain take place. In alpha state, there have been a number of studies about creativity and about the ability to make abstract judgments and leaps of logic or leaps of abstract reasoning in alpha state. I have many clients that report at that moment or those moments of partial wakefulness, they have insights. I find myself profoundly affected at that time of day, early in the morning, and often think of solutions to problems. Often new and powerful ideas will come to mind, and I take advantage of that alpha state, and sometimes I keep a pad of paper or a little tape recorder next to the bed, so as soon as I wake up I can write down or record those ideas. And sometimes I haven't, and certainly in an hour or two I have forgotten them. And sometimes they've come so powerfully and clear, I'm just absolutely sure I can remember them. And sure enough, in an hour, not only can I not remember them, I can't even remember what they were about. And I have to go through, some intense recall exercise, and generally I can get them back. But having a pad of paper by the bed is probably a better solution. So those are some common examples. Another common example is if you're sitting at a desk and you're staring into space, and suddenly you come to yourself, and you weren't asleep, but you realize that you have lost track of time, and you've lost track of anything that was going on in the room. There might have been another conversation, something might have happened, and you were completely unaware of it. Another example of an altered state of consciousness is when you're doing something. For me, it's working in the recording studio on music. I will get completely lost with respect to time, and hours might go by before I realize, wow, it's been 5 hours, and we've got a lot of stuff done, but the sense of time passing has been completely altered. All of those are altered states of consciousness where our relationship with time and our relationship with the outside world is changed. Many are like alpha state, many are in alpha state, but what meditation is is simply an intentional practice of relaxing mind and body so that you can make connections, access creativity, and levels of brain activity that are more connected to creativity and productivity than when you're in the normal beta state, which is when the brain is moving faster and you're doing the regular tasks that are in front of you. Now, most of the day when we're awake and moving, we spend that in beta state, which is when the brain is more busy, more active, doing things, concentrating on different input and stimulus and so forth. That is not the state of heightened creativity. That comes more when we're relaxed. So the first point I wanted to talk about today, use my cheaters here, what is meditation? So let's just give a definition. Meditation is sometimes associated with religious or spiritual practices. I'm not making that connection here. That's fine. I use it that way as well because I'm religious, and I make a habit of meditating with prayer and other religious devotions. But let's set that aside, and let's define, for the purposes of this discussion, meditation as the intentional practice of quieting the body and the mind in order to access an altered state of consciousness and therefore increased creativity and productivity. So here's what happens. A state of relaxation of the body is one thing. Some people are more fidgety than others, and it is more difficult for them to relax and stop moving and sit in a still state than others. Joy often tells me that she's fidgety, so she would be one of those. So that's the first step. It actually is far easier to quiet the body than the mind. Someone who's fidgety in body normally has a double fidgety mind, and their thoughts are generally what in the lingo is called the monkey mind, which is like a chattering monkey screeching and jumping all over the place. So sitting still is the first practice. And one of the most important things about learning to meditate is not to be angry or frustrated about it. I have people who try to meditate. I just can't. And the minute you sort of access that frustrated state, you're done. Because you've moved your mind not only into beta state, but into an agitated beta state from, green to orange alert or something. And so that's the antithesis of that quiet relaxation that is the hallmark and intent of meditation practice. So when those itches come, like if you're sitting down still in a chair or lying down, and you don't have to sit in some fancy lotus position all twisted into a pretzel, not required. Sitting still in some relaxed and comfortable position is the best way to learn, particularly. And when bodily sensations come, my leg itches, there's a fly on my nose, whatever, that's fine. Those things come. If you need to brush the fly off your nose, do it, and then return to the relaxed state. If your leg itches, scratch it. Or if you choose to ignore it, ignore it. But the last thing you want to do is to get frantic about it or get worried about it, and it takes some practice. It takes some practice as your body sends you signals and you start feeling, well, I'm sitting on something, or this is a little funny, and you start becoming aware of stuff that in a beta state you just wouldn't notice at all. That's the first hallmark of success. When you start feeling things in your body that you weren't even noticing before at all, you're on your way, because that means you're paying attention at a different level. So again, we've defined meditation as the intentional process of relaxing mind and body to access higher states of creativity and reasoning and so forth. And so I'm going to pause here for a second and see if Rick or Joy, if you guys have any comments you'd like to throw in about your own experience or what I've said so far.
I've absolutely had that experience, Kellen, of feeling like I'm awake and my brain is disconnected from my body, and it's very freaky, and it's very exciting that you took the time to explain that as alpha state so that I can be aware that, hey, this is something that's actually a joy to experience and grow from when it does occur. That's very cool. Thank you for that.
You bet, and I would absolutely recommend that you enjoy it instead of fight it. Sometimes if I've had some kind of a dream and I'm waking up from it and I need to move, or I feel like I've heard something, you forget that and you get frantic and you want to move, and then you become focused on, I can't move. Yes, I can. I'm going to make myself move. I can't move. Yes, I can. I'm going to make myself move. And, then you kind of, gone past the game. But just enjoying that state of partial wakefulness, and I've trained myself most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time to just sit and enjoy it and explore in a disconnected way thoughts and ideas that come bubbling up, because of course our subconscious mind isn't asleep. Our bodily functions keep going on, and the subconscious mind continues. Meditation is one of the best ways I find to put myself to sleep at night, and I assign my subconscious mind some tasks to think about, and more often than not, I'll have some ideas that have percolated up in the morning. It's like leaving a computer to run, a batch of stuff all night. You've got stuff floating out in the morning, so that's all good stuff. Joy, did you have anything you wanted to add? No. No. Okay, cool. So let's move on to number 2. How do I start? So we talked about that a little bit. Let's talk about the mind part. You start simply by learning to relax. Okay? Some people say, I don't have time to meditate. I'm too busy. I understand that feeling. I really do. Our lives are busy. We live in this hectic sort of paced world. And, that process is a whole different conversation, where I would say that meditation creates time, not uses it, and you have the same amount of time as anyone does. So you have the opportunity to use your time the same 24 hours that anyone does. My experience has been that the process of meditation actually creates time for you. In that, it doesn't stop the clock and it doesn't make the sun go back. But what it does do is it makes you far more organized, and your thinking pathways more responsive. And I find myself able, and clients able, to do the same amount of thinking or mental processing in far less time. Far less time, in other words, gaining an advantage over the time spent meditating. So if you spend 20 minutes meditation in the morning, you will gain, an hour, 2 hours back in the work that you do because of the clarity of the processes that you have. So let's talk about the mental part. We talked about the physical part. You sit in a relaxed way. If you have sensations of the chair under you, or your pants or your body in some way, your nose itches or whatever, that's fine. Scratch it and just return to the relaxed state. Excuse me, I guess we have a emergency vehicle floating by on cloud 6. So then you have the mind to deal with. The mind is a different animal entirely. It is, especially if you haven't had this practice of relaxing the mind, it can, if you stop moving and you set your body still, the mind can more than make up for the lack of sensory input by moving at lightning speed and flitting between billions of thoughts. Okay? Here, there, everywhere, what you forgot to do, what you could have said, what you're going to say, the problem that's left unsolved, the hassle you had at work, the thing you forgot to pick up at the store, the bill that's due, the client you need to talk to, the contact you forgot to send, whatever. 25,000 things flood your mind all the time. So learning to meditate is simply learning to let those things go away. And you say to me, what do you mean go away? The minute they go away, 200 more crowd in and replace them. And that's true. That's how it starts. So the easiest way to learn to meditate, and there's a book, I've written several books on meditation. There's one called Meditation, The Amazing Journey Within. It's available on Amazon and Kindle. It's very inexpensive if you want to learn. It's a very beginner's guide to meditation, a little history and a little discussion about how to do it, 4 or 5 different approaches. I'm only going to talk about one here because we don't have time. The easiest and quickest way to learn to control your mind, and I use the word control loosely because it is the opposite of control, to calm your mind with gentle non-control, is by focusing on something. So the easiest thing to do is focus on something natural, which is your breath. So what you do is you begin to think about, we don't get to direct very much, but we do get to direct our attention. So you close your eyes and you breathe in and out very slowly, and you focus on the breath. In other words, all of your attention on the breath. So when you breathe in, what does it feel like for the air to go in your nose, and down your throat, and in your lungs, and you feel your lungs expand. And so you intentionally direct your thoughts to those feelings. Process of breathing, the lungs expanding, maybe your chest pushing on the shirt, or all of the sensations associated with breathing. Now, undoubtedly, when you do that, other thoughts will intrude. Particularly if you start maybe in kind of an emotional state, there's been a problem, or you had an emotional, something happened and there's something wrong. That's okay too. So you just acknowledge those thoughts. Yeah, I had that argument at work. I'm going to have to fix that. Okay, great. Now back to the breath. Okay, yeah, oh yeah, I did forget to pay that bill. Yeah, I have to do that. Okay, back to the breath. If it's something really exciting, I use a practice called shelving, and I imagine a shelf in my mind, and I take the feeling like a book and I put it on the shelf, and I say to it, okay, I know that I need to deal with this. I'll come back after I'm done. So I'll just sit right there and I'll take it. I'll check this book out when I go home or when I get done. I find that effective. Sometimes I give the books colors. If something's really urgent, I'll color it a bright, color or something, so that I will remember it or something. But what I find is when I make a contract with my mind about that particular thing, that it's not difficult to remember. And it can also then go away. It will allow me to return to the breath. So the key there is return to the breath over and over again, regardless of how many intrusions there are, and regardless of how severe they are. Just gently acknowledge them and return to thinking about the breath. So that's how you get started. You start with first just 2 or 3 minutes, and then 4, and then 5. The easiest way to do that is to set a timer, because if you don't, you're fussing about, has it been 2 minutes yet? Has it been 5 minutes yet? Has it been 2 hours and I don't know it? Am I going to miss something? And you get all those intruding thoughts too, and you may think, I won't do that, but yeah, you will. as soon as you try to set yourself up to be quiet and still until you've practiced for a while, it will become that process. So that is the best way to start. By and large, there are other ways, but that's the best way and the easiest way to start. Breath is natural. You always have it with you. It takes no special place, time, or anywhere else to meditate. After you learn for a while, you can even meditate where there's noise and in a room full of people if you want to. So those are the answers to the first two questions. I'll pause again and see if there are any comments. And I'm going to take a look in the comment stream and see if there's anything to say. Rick or Joy, do you have any comments about that so far? Okay, and seeing none, we'll move on to excuse me, part 3. Checking my time so I can keep us on track. Track. All right, so the next question is the one that everybody asks, WIIFM, what's in it for me? What will meditation do for me? So let's talk about some of the benefits of meditation. First of all, there have been a bunch of interesting studies at the medical colleges of different universities. Several by the University of Pennsylvania. There's a fellow who works there, and I've forgotten his name right now, but he wrote a book about how God changes your brain. And he's a medical researcher, and he did a whole bunch of neurological scans of religious people, nuns, and other people of different religions, of people who meditated, and of people who prayed, and did brain scans while they were doing it, and the brain scans of people who had done that for a long period of time versus not at all, and so forth. And the practice of meditation, whether it was in the attitude of praying or the attitude of pure meditation, has some significant effects on the brain. And it's really interesting. It produces different energy. There is an increase in creativity. There is an increase in ability to deal with stressful situations. An increase in ability to not react strongly with, fight or flight in an unreasonable way, but to be able to manage situations in a more effective and calm way. So there's lots of really interesting effects. And I read that book, and there's a couple of sequels. So I think his first name's Mark. But anyway, the name of the book is How God Changes Your Brain, and that might sound like a religious text, but it's actually a neuroscience text written by a couple of guys and researchers at University of Pennsylvania. So there's that one, and there are a number of others, which I read in preparation for the 5 meditation books that I wrote.
Andrew Newberg.
Huh?
Andrew Newberg.
Oh, Andrew Newberg. Joy looked it up for me. So his name is Andrew Newberg, MD. All right, and I forgot the co-author, but that's okay. You'll be able to find it with that. So when I was doing research for the 5 books on meditation that I wrote, I wanted to do the following. I wanted to write about the first volume, is just how to start, and why it's cool. And then I wrote the 4 companion volumes, which is different areas of life that it can affect. So one of them I talked about physical health. One of them I talked about mental achievement. And one of them I talked about results in your life, like accomplishing things in your career or performance. And one of them I talked about your spirituality. So those are volumes 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the series, where I talked about different expressions of meditation in the development of different areas of your life. What I found in the research doing it, and I talked about it in the books, and I've also seen it in my own personal life and the lives of my clients, is that meditation simply not only increases your productivity, it increases the perceived amount of time you have, and it can do marvelous things for both your physical being and your wallet and your ability to conduct your business. So here's what I can tell you from my own physical experience. There was some time about three years ago, let's see, 2010, so it's been 4 years ago, when I've been very, very healthy all my life. Have been blessed with an extraordinarily healthy body that doesn't break. And even though I've done, martial arts for a long time and a couple of black belt degrees and sparring and breaking things and people and all that sort of thing, I've remained mostly intact. But and double black skiing and crashing down slopes and all that sort of thing. But it finally, I guess, took its toll, and about 4 years ago, in the process of just doing my morning workout, I found myself unable to move. I was doing push-ups in the backyard on the patio, and I remember very specifically, all of a sudden one push-up began to hurt really bad, and I did one more, and I collapsed and fell on my face. So I thought, this is interesting. And so I tried to stand up, and I couldn't. And so I crawled into the house on my hands and knees, and I said, I have a problem. And so being me and having had the life that I had, I took 5,000 ibuprofen and thought I'll be okay later. It turned out that it didn't, in fact, go away, and it wouldn't get better. And so I could sometimes stand up and limp badly around the house, but I had a problem in my lower back, extremely painful. And you know, getting out of bed a lot of times in the morning, I would have to crawl into the bathroom on my hands and knees. It was not a pretty picture. So eventually, after a couple of weeks of this, of limping and stumbling around, I thought, I better do something. So I went to see the doctor, and he, you know, poked and prodded and did what doctors do, and then sent me to a specialist. He prescribed some heavy-duty painkillers, which I don't like because they make me feel weird, but whatever. So I went to see an orthopedist, and they sent me to get an MRI, and they did all that kind of stuff. And they came back with results and said I had a spinal problem, and there was they needed to operate. An orthopedic surgeon, they were going to operate. And I went home, and I talked to Joy about it, and I said, you know, they said they want to operate, but I don't think so. So I went back to see the guy, and I said, no, we're not going to do that. I'll take care of it another way. So I went back, and I did a very, very intense program. I did some physical work. I talked to a physical therapist, got some ideas, and then did a very, very focused regime on guided imagery and meditation. And the bottom line is, from that condition of not being able to do anything, I am completely healed. It took a few months, but within a few months, using just those tools, I was able to completely heal that and have no limitations in mobility whatsoever. I can run, I can do whatever I want. So that's one way that meditation and getting connected powerfully with your body and being aware of that, and again, it's way too advanced to describe it now, but I took body journeys in my mind and found the pain and found the spot, and it did all kinds of things that some people would consider crazy, but the results speak for themselves. So anyway, that's one example. We have so many limitations that we live with, both physically, mentally, and spiritually and emotionally, that a close connection with our bodies and mind, and spirits essentially, can solve and can heal. I have seen it happen. I have had it happen in my own life on multiple occasions. I told you one story. I've seen it happen with clients. So one of the things that I teach in my Break the Cage Now program, and even in my business acceleration breakthrough programs, is the science, art, and practice of meditation. It belongs on a Results on a Rampage Hangout, because if you want to maximize your results, you will meditate. If you'd like some help with that, let me know and we can set something up. It's interesting because I had a friend who's a Super Bowl champion. He was on the New Orleans Saints. They won one of the Super Bowls that they won. So he's a friend of mine and one of the masterminds that I have. And he was there trying to achieve great results and everything else. And I asked him about his meditation. And he said, I don't do that. And this is a guy that has done the work to get to a Super Bowl, okay? This is a guy that has done the pain and work to get to that level of sports. And I looked at him and I said, you've done things at the professional level. You know the effort that it takes to get there. And he looked at me and he said, yeah. I mean, he's this enormous guy. I mean, I'm a big guy, but he's like a gorilla compared to me. I feel like a munchkin or something. Anyway, so I just looked at him and I said, dude, you are not going to go to the next level unless you learn to meditate. He told me later that the fact that I said that just hit him like a ton of bricks in the chest. And so he said, for some reason, it just resonated like all the way through his body, and he knew that I was right. So he went, and he has now since continually practiced that. He's now become an instructor, and he continually tells that story of the day that I told him that. It completely changed his approach to stuff and completely changed his relationship with meditation, and again, was the key to unlocking his, launching a huge degree of success in the last several months. So another success story with that. Oh, he was with the New England Patriots. I'm sorry, I said the wrong team. Joy corrected me again. Glad I got help here. New England Patriots. But anyway, so that's another fantastic story, and he's a guy that I like a lot as well. So anyway, there's a couple of examples of the incredible results. I can tell you that it's true, it works, and that it's something you should learn to practice. There are many resources to learn how to do it. I've got books out. There are many others. But take the time to involve yourself in this practice. All right, we're over time, I think. Oh, not much, just a minute or two. So I'm going to open it up to final comments for those that are on the line if you want to, and then we'll wrap it up. Rick, you got anything to say?
Thank you for deciding to include this topic in results on a Rampage, because it's not what I would expect you to put in, but I can certainly see where it can make a huge difference when I do it deliberately and consistently. So thank you.
You bet. It's it's way underused. Okay, it's a powerful tool. It matters a lot to the results you achieve. Some people think of it as a soft and silly thing. I don't spend any time trying to convince people of its efficacy anymore. I know it. I've seen the results in my life and in many other clients and in other people that are neither clients nor just acquaintances that I know that do it. So I spend no time trying to argue my case. It's just that those that do it have an advantage. Just like, when you do certain things, you have an advantage over others. And if other people don't want to listen, hey, their call. So you bet. You're welcome. Thank you for showing up today. And it looks like we're done. I'm going to check real quick in the comment stream. Looks like we...
Okay.
Time. Yeah, I've got a comment here from Griswold that says attention seems to be the one part of the mind that we can steer, and he speculates that it's like a muscle, and the more we practice it, the better we get at it. Both those things are true. There's very little that we control. We don't control other people, we don't control the sun and the moon, and we don't control a lot. We don't control the law of gravity, but our attention and our intention are two things that we control exclusively. Our intention and our attention are the things that we do control, and your ability to direct your attention and keep it focused is absolutely like a muscle. And the more you practice returning it to the breath, if that's the way you choose to learn, and practice control over that, not control in a I'm going to control this way, but in a gentle way, and you learn right away the difference. You absolutely get stronger in your ability to do it, and your capability to keep it focused for a long period of time absolutely increases. So thanks for that comment, Grizz. I appreciate that. Let me take a look one more time real quick before we end the broadcast. Yeah, I think that's all the comments that are in there. So great. Thanks all for being here tonight, and we'll see you in the next round. Bye-bye.